This is Kim Hammer with your devotion taken from the book of Judges chapter 21. This will be our final look at the book of Judges for our devotions. We find that the nation of Israel has reached a point to where they are before the Lord weeping and expressing remorse for their actions. What were their actions? They took matters into their own hands and they all but annihilated the tribe of Benjamin. In fact, they had reduced the tribe of Benjamin down to 600 fighting men who had run off into the wilderness fearing for their life because everybody else had been wiped away. And then the nation of Israel went into every city and town in the tribe of Benjamin's region, and they eliminated everything in those towns, including livestock, women, children. The entire inheritance and future of the nation of Benjamin, or the tribe of Benjamin, had been reduced to 600 fighting men, with no possibility of growing the nation back because all the women had been killed. Now the nation of Israel asks itself a question in verse 3, and it says, why has this happened to us? This is almost kind of a no-brainer kind of question. The reason it happened to you is because you took matters into your own hands, and even though you consulted with God, you didn't consult Him asking for a direction and asking for wisdom. You consulted with Him so you could check it off your list and say, well, we talked to God, and it must have been okay with God because He let us go ahead and do it. You know, a lot of times we talk to God and we want to be able to check it off and say, well, I talked to God before I did what I did, but we really weren't going with the mind willing to listen to what He has to say. And then God stands back and He lets us do what we wanted to do anyway, and He does it with a purpose of saying, one of these days you're going to learn your lesson, and we're going to come back to this as a point of reference, and I'm going to be able to tell you that if you would have listened to what I said, you wouldn't have found yourself in this position in the first place. That's kind of where the nation of Israel was. In fact, if you go on, you read the end of the chapter, you find that they still didn't learn their lesson through all of this because they continued to take matters into their own hands. And when you get down to the very last verse, the Bible tells us that in those days Israel had no king, and everyone did as he saw fit. Even after all that experience, Israel was still doing what they wanted to do based upon how they saw it was best for themselves and not consulting God. Over a 300-year period in the book of Judges and 7 judges, yet they still finished out this time written in the book of Judges having learned nothing. You know, it'll be a sad state of affair that we come to the end of life and God has given us many opportunities in order to get into what He sees is fit for our life, and us die having never reached that point, and then we die with these words on our lips, and that is, how exactly or why did this happen to me? If we start listening to God, we'll find that there's less room for that question to be asked, and it'll be more to allow the scriptures of Jeremiah 29:11 to be fulfilled, which says, I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Wouldn't it be better to fulfill the plans that the Lord has for us than for us to continue to do as we see fit and it not be in the plans that God has for us?